Hey everybody, welcome back to Fresh Set. I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are Canadian outfitted today.
Yeah, we're in the one place where they actually have a race. Like this time we're actually here.
Yes.
I mean, not even there, but we're here.
No, it's our home race.
We're in the country.
We're in the same country. And I need to take these glasses
Not
off.
like it's the second biggest landmass in the world.
No big deal.
Facts for everybody who's not Canadian.
Well, yeah. So as if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the gigantic Canadian flag. And I'm wearing a Canada bucket hat, which maybe Lando will send me one of his bucket hats now.
Maybe. But it probably won't be Canadian.
No, but that's fine. All right. So we are all Canadian out because it's the Canadian Grand Prix. We just finished watching the race, essentially. Yeah. Initial thoughts.
I mean, it started off, the whole weekend kind of started off in a disaster.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And it ended in a bit of a disaster. It was consistent the whole way.
Complete shit show.
Over 3 days, yeah. Absolutely terrible.
Everything has been... No one kind of saw anything coming this weekend.
No, it's been a great weekend. I mean, I don't mean it to seem bad. It's been a great weekend.
It's just been all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, we ended up with the same winner, Max.
Yeah.
So he's now had a hat trick of Canadian wins.
Yes.
The last 3.
Yep. Very Canadian reference there. The hat trick.
Oh, yeah. I watch hockey.
Yeah, true.
But I think everything else about the weekend was just...
Yeah,
the script was flipped.
It started off with Friday practice, where the city of Montreal just screwed the pooch. Yeah. They were because the forecast was forecasting rain, fairly severe rain, hail, and all that. Yeah. I'm guessing the city had told the police to turn everyone away, which they did. Yeah. They sent everybody home for FP1. They wouldn't let anybody through FP2. Canceled. Yeah, even the I guess it's connected to a casino that's there. Yeah. Coming out of the casino walkway or whatever, they weren't even allowing people to go. And FIA didn't cancel the session. No, they had no directive to cancel the session. No. The city of Montreal was just turning people away. And
we haven't heard. I mean, you had said that the FIA was meeting with.
Yeah, the next day they're supposed to meet with them on Saturday, I believe, but
we haven't heard what that.
No,
I mean, people paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
To go, and then they got turned away from... I mean, yes, there was hail, there was storms, but that doesn't...
There are people
the race goes on.
There are people that go there for practice and qualifying and sell their tickets for the race so they can make their money back for the weekend.
Make money back. I mean, at one point we had Stroll and Alonso in FP2, I think. They were 1 and 2 on there. FP1, we had Jack Doohan.
Jack Doohan did take the seat in Ocon's seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Ocon that told the police to cancel everything, not let everybody in.
I don't want anybody to watch them.
Yeah.
We had that. We had Zhao going into the wall. It was red flag for a little bit.
Yeah.
Or the end of the session.
Charles doing a 360 over the Bonjour.
Yeah, it
Montreal.
It was just wet all weekend. Yeah. Actually, no, it's actually Saturday where we thought it was going to be wet wasn't. It held
in
off.
Quali, they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then...
The quality was interesting too.
Yeah. It
was very interesting. I mean, we had Sergio Perez again at 17th, I believe it was 16th.
16th.
No, 17th. I think he was 2 down, wasn't he? I can't remember. Either way, it was 17 or 16. It was terrible.
Yeah.
He had nothing going, and all he could say was, "Fuck."
Yeah.
And his engineer just,
Literally all he had to say. I mean, he was, before he even got to the pits, he was banging on his halo and he knew he was frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. He was out. I mean, Alonso didn't have a great session either.
No.
We did have both Haas into Q3 Was it? Was that?
And we had both Williams into
Q2.
They made it out of Q3 or Q1, sorry.
Yeah, they made it out of Q1, sorry, yeah.
And you had a crazy stat that you found out about Logan.
He's been out-qualified by his teammate 30-0, yet he's also, in his career, he's out-qualified Sergio Perez 6 times. Like, how does that work? The guy in the fastest car, because Logan's only been around since Perez has been in a Red Bull. And he's out-qualified him 6 times in the last 2 years. It's actually not even been 2 years.
And we'll just leave that right there. It's just an interesting little fact. And I mean,
just another stat to put Checo down. It's just to make him feel like shit. Not that I'm ever trying to. It's just easy
fact.
And it's there. Yeah,
it's just a fact. But on that note, also that happened this week is Checo got signed for.
Checo signed a 2-year contract.
It's not a 2-year.
It is a 2-year. It is a 2-year.
Not if you ask Christian.
But it's a 2-year. But Christian was very quick to point out that it is a 1+1. It is 1 year with an option on both sides. So they could both end it if they wanted to.
Correct.
So basically it's a 1 year.
It's a 1 year.
It's a 2-year contract, but it's like, hey, we might not be keeping you next year. Yeah, we'll see.
It's a we'll see.
But everybody was saying
for sure.
2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, and then Christian came right out. He didn't have to.
No.
He didn't have to say anything. He's like, listen, no. It's a 1+1.
Yeah. 1+1 = 2. But
I think, and just in case Daniel was feeling a little hurt.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I mean, good for Checo. Not a great weekend for him, but in general,
not after you sign that contract.
In general, a good week. Well, I mean, you sign that contract and then have a shit weekend.
Yeah, like there was nothing good about it. Not one thing. He was terrible in qualifying.
Yeah.
And then in the race, he picked up this weirdest damage. We didn't even see. Just all of a sudden, his back wing is gone.
Yeah.
And decided to finish the lap.
Yeah, which they were investigating and.
Which Red Bull basically screwed him for, because they probably told him, come in so we don't get Max to have a safety car.
Yes.
And now Sergio Perez is being investigated for for unsafe conditions.
It's all about Max.
Yeah, clearly.
Quali, what else did we have? George.
Well, we had George. George. George got pole. He also had a holy moly.
Holy moly.
He almost loses his back end into the wall. Was it the Wall of Champions? I think it was.
Pretty close.
Anyway, wherever it was. He sounded like he just crapped his pants.
Yeah.
And holy moly, I almost lost it.
I just almost had a big one there. Holy moly. But
turned real Canadian.
Holy moly. But he got pole. And
pole.
I mean, good for George.
He got pole with the exact same. Well, sorry, Max was on second.
Yes.
With the exact same time as Russell. And
the only reason George took pole is because he completed the lap first.
Yeah.
Or the fastest time first.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in the paddock, Mercedes was excited, but commentators, everybody interviewing, kind of treated it like he won the race. They were so excited that it was like, George, like, you did it.
You did it, George.
You finally did it. But we were like, timing wise, it's not going to last long. That first.
No, we thought it was going to be running into the first corner. But let's not gloss over the fact that in qualifying, we had both Ferraris out in Q2.
Well, we were going to gloss over that.
No, we're not going to gloss over. We're going to stick with the red. We're all red here, so we can't lose the Ferraris. Both Ferraris for some reason, and they expected the Canadian GP to be not similar to Monaco, but because there are a lot of slow speed corners, and they were so good in Monaco that this would be a race they might have excelled in. They excelled in absolutely nothing. Nothing. They were non-existent until we watched them completely F up strategy.
Completely.
Like
that. You shit the bed.
You give Charles one of his best days of his life 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And then you come right back with, hey, we're just going to fuck you to even out the karma.
Just like, again, you said, they were 11th and 12th.
Yes, 11th and
And
12th,
just had no pace.
Nothing.
In quali. And then jumping to the race today, what did we see Carlos lose 9 or lose 6 spots immediately? Like,
right
as we started?
Right off the hop. I mean,
yeah. Lights out. Carlos is at the back.
Yeah, by turn 5, he was probably way behind.
Yeah.
And Leclerc, I mean, he was stuck in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Seemed like he had some power unit issues.
He had a power unit issue.
Yeah. He was having some problems, but then they also screwed him with his tires. I mean, in the end, it wouldn't have made a difference. He was going to be out. He was going to retire the car probably.
Yeah.
Unless they felt, because he was a minute and a half behind the lead, that is like, you know what, we're not going to push it. We're not even getting any of the points today. So just retire the car.
Yeah. A minute and a half behind when fastest lap at that point in the race was like a minute 20. I mean, it ended up getting down to like 115, 113s, but
yeah,
at that point, you're like,
no, not with a wet track. You're not getting anywhere. You're not going anywhere. And then he came in for a pit stop. They changed him from his intermediates to hards.
Yes.
And then he sat there for an additional 20 seconds.
Yes.
Presumably to try and fix something on his dashboard.
Yeah. So it came up that they were trying to reset something in the power unit. Yeah. What that was, we still don't know. It seemed to have worked a little bit, and then it was just like...
He got back out there on a wet track and hard tires. And then even when he got back out on the track, he immediately lost 30 seconds.
Yes. And it just didn't make sense because everybody is talking on the radios. Other teams are saying, you know, the rain is expected in 8 minutes. The rain is expected in 9 minutes. And they said it was going to be pretty heavy for whatever period it was going to be there. And they choose to put him on.
And Ferrari just said, but we only expect the rain for 2 laps.
Yeah.
So just keep it on track.
Yeah, you can't do that. Like, they're barely keeping it on track with inters right now.
Well, yeah. And if you're going at least half of the pace of the rest of the pack, you're going to lose 2 laps.
Mm-hmm. You're going to be behind by 2 laps.
Yeah.
And
then they pitted him 2 laps later. Again, to put him back on inters when you just said the rain was going to stop.
Yeah. It just, all around, this was a very 2022.
2022.
This was a very 2022 Ferrari strategy. It just wasn't a great weekend for them in general. Carlos,
all the memes came back of the pit wall with their clown heads back on.
Yes, immediately. Carlos, he ended up DNFing as well.
Yeah, he lost it.
Yeah, he lost it on his own.
Yeah, Logan was out pretty early. Was it lap 17, lap 20, something like that? Where he lost it as well. Took his back right into the wall.
Yeah. Facing the wrong way.
Facing the wrong way. We had a couple of those.
Yeah.
We had Carlos into the wall, not into the wall, sorry, spinning out and then ending up backing into Albon, which
threw him into the wall.
Threw him into the wall.
Facing the wrong way.
And then Carlos into the grass.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was doing donuts in the grass.
Just having a time.
We had five cars out this race. So we had both Williams, both Ferrari, and my goodness, Ocon?
No. I don't know who was out.
There was a fifth.
There was a fifth car out.
Oh, Perez. Sorry, Perez.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
Perez.
like, looking at my notes. Who was it?
Yeah, no, because he backed into the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was interesting.
And
we had some good battles, though, I think.
There was a lot of good battles. I think it was, in general, an interesting race. Because of the rain, we typically don't see people running away with wins.
And we never did.
No.
I mean, the furthest we ever got was probably 6 seconds ahead in first.
If that.
But it closed pretty quick.
Yeah. And we had a few race leaders. We had George leading, obviously.
Yeah.
And he led for the first few until the safety car.
Probably until Logan was out, yeah.
Yeah. Because it was just pissing wet. The track was
But he
soaked.
also had no pace. By the time he got
Zero.
to whatever that safety car was,
Yeah.
his tires were done.
Yeah.
And he was overtaken pretty badly.
Yes. He got twice in
the chicane.
Yeah.
He lost it in the chicane.
And then that was it.
After Lando had already passed him, and he lost it there, and then Max just said, "Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
See you later."
well, I'll just take this
Yeah.
spot. And then we had Lando leading.
Mm-hmm.
And
Lando
then
leading for a while, and then we had his problems with his tire. Well, no, the safety car. Sorry.
Yeah.
The safety car on Carlos Albon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Max just for the rest of the race. I mean, it wasn't an easy win for him. Max, again, had to work. In the wets, it's not easy. Regardless of, or intermediates, when there's rain on the track, even with a dry line, it's still strategy. Because if you clip that wet line at all,
You're done.
It can, that's what happened to Carlos.
Yeah.
Lost his back end. So, I mean.
And McLaren's strategy was actually really good this weekend. Well,
McLaren
Sunday.
are fast.
Did I say McLaren?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I said. No,
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
like, those McLarens
Sorry, I'm like, wait a minute a
fast.
second. What am I thinking? Their strategy I think was really good. It was just Lando got screwed by that safety car.
Yeah, where he was. And we saw the replay of...
It came on when he was just too far. He wasn't going to be able to make that line into the safe. He could have. He would have just been over speed and probably had a time penalty anyways.
Which would have dropped him from...
Yeah.
He would have gone way back to seventh maybe. Because I think we were saying the top five were all within 5 seconds of each other.
Yeah, he would have at least been in, 5,
So
6,
if he got
7.
a 5-second penalty, he'd be...
6th or 7th or something like that. Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, K-Mag. So we go into the race. Everybody's starting on inters because it had rained earlier.
Yeah.
Was raining. Are you stopping?
No.
Oh.
No, I was just looking. Got 2 minutes. Right?
So the only people that started on full wets were the Haas.
Yeah.
Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen.
It seemed to work at first.
He gained 9 places.
Did.
That's who it was. So he gained 9. Kevin Magnussen gained 9 places, and he was
by the time we were in like lap 4.
He was in 5th, and then all of a sudden he was in 4th, and then the track started to dry.
They realized, it wasn't full.
And then they were like, "You need to come and change these tires."
We took a gamble based on what was happening right now. We didn't look at what was going to happen in the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, and that dropped him.
Yeah.
Down to 13.
Then they were back in a more comfortable position.
Yeah, where they usually kind of hang out. But I think it was maybe a good confidence boost for him, considering it was possible he wasn't going to be racing
ever again this year.
Or
no,
in Canada.
In Canada, yeah,
yeah. So, other interesting little piece here was that race is going. We're about 7 laps in, and we get a notice across the screen that possible false start for Daniel Ricciardo being investigated. Poor guy's had a rough weekend. I mean, he finished.
Well, he had a good racing weekend.
Yes, he did.
Not a very good personal weekend.
No, he did end up with they replayed it, and he was given a 5-second penalty for a false start.
Yeah, and he was probably a couple thousandths of a second.
It barely
quicker.
looked like a false start to me, but what do I know?
What does the FIA know?
What do they know? But I mean, on the personal side of things, we had Jacques.
Yeah, Jacques Villeneuve was the special commentator for this weekend.
Yes.
Because it was the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yes.
And he wasn't holding back all weekend.
At all.
He went full French Canadian.
He went at Daniel. Some points valid.
Yeah.
But it was just aggressive.
That's the thing. Okay, you can make those points. I mean, everybody's made those points. Everybody's discussed it. Yeah. No matter what. Our two idiot point of views. But every podcast, every reporter, every article has all made those claims or questions. He sounded very upset.
It sounded personal for him.
It sounded to me like he's gone through this, which he probably has, where he wasn't performing, and they're like, "You're out of here." And he's like, "Well, why the hell should he still be in here if I was kicked out?"
Exactly. I mean, I think even I can't remember if it was Rachel that was interviewing him, was kind of like, "Well, those are harsh words," and he was like, "Well, yeah," and he just doubled down on it. And
well,
it was
Rachel,
Rachel.
Yeah, Yeah, well, Rachel's also, I think Daniel's her son's
Right.
godfather.
Yes.
So yeah,
Fair.
she's going to protect
Fair.
him 100%.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, it was just... And
No,
like,
that's Natalie Pink. I'm sorry.
he just kind of kept... It was like listing all of his failures. And it was
Yeah.
just the most bizarre
Yeah.
thing to do.
And you can see it in the rest of the panel. They're like,
Yeah. Like,
just like
Karun is
tight-lipped,
just like
like,
standing there.
yeah, like
this.
we did not discuss this in our briefing. Like
he,
this.
He just... And again, it's not that his points weren't valid. It was just
How he
went about
presented
it.
them.
And
Yeah.
as a... I guess they're supposed to be somewhat unbiased, and that just seemed very biased.
I don't mind the bias of it, fine, but make it sound like you're not. It's not personal, and
Right,
yeah.
right. I mean, even Nico Rosberg gives Lewis kudos once in a while.
Once in a while, yeah.
like
yeah.
But I mean, Daniel was good about it. He kind of said,
Not really. Not really.
Kind of went back. He gave it back to him.
Did you watch the actual
Give
interview?
it back to him.
He said something, and then he just walked away like he was pissed.
Well, what did he...
It was reminiscent of whatever interview he had. Oh, I can't remember what that interview was this year.
about
where he was
Yuki.
Yeah.
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 That I mean, I think they bleeped it out, but we don't know what he actually said. I haven't seen like an
I
uncut.
think he called it like bullshit, and then we don't need to hear from that guy anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
give it back to him.
Yeah,
Might as well.
Yeah. And then Jock takes credit for his good performance.
Yeah.
Says apparently he lit a fire under him or something to that effect.
Sure.
And that's why he got into Q3.
Yes, but it's all because of you. But I mean, Daniel drove the car, did what he needed to do. At the end there, the RBs had full reign if they wanted to fight. They were allowed to fight.
Go.
And unfortunately, something happened with Yuki. He was ahead of Daniel in ninth.
I think he was involved in an incident, a minor incident.
Yeah.
In a fight, a three-way fight, I believe it was.
And then so he dropped all the way down. But so Daniel got ninth, I think, in the end. So, or eighth or ninth.
Points.
Points. And he needs points.
We say it every week.
He needs points. And then, we had the finish, which, Max kind of took his little bit of space, ran with it.
Yeah.
He finished. And then we had Lando behind him.
Lando behind in second,
then-
Russell in third, Piastri in fourth.
Yeah. Was it Piastri in fourth? Or?
Sorry.
Lewis in fourth.
Lewis in fourth, and then Piastri
Yeah.
in fifth.
Because there was a bit of a...
A little bit of a fight near the end.
Yes.
Lap 69, 70.
With Oscar, George, and Lewis.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to give credit to Oscar. He's not necessarily winning. He's getting podiums, or he's getting to the top group. He's in the top five.
As a second-year driver, I mean,
He's
he could be Logan.
doing well. This is true.
He could be Logan.
He's doing really well, and like I said to you during the race, there's a lot of maturity from him.
Yeah.
The McLaren came on the radio saying, "Hey, if we switch you with Lando, do you think you could catch Max?" And he's fighting George behind him, and he said, "No, said, no, I'm just going to keep fighting George."
Happen,
and he did. He held him up, and it allowed Lando to secure that second place.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, it didn't work to keep him in fourth or third. But then it created a great fight between George and Lewis.
Yeah.
Which I guess they had no team orders as well. They were allowed to fight. So.
I don't think they care if there's team orders or not. No.
Not at all. But then Lewis comes fourth and then has a really
Nothing
odd...
good to say.
Yeah. A very odd reaction to the race, saying it's one of the worst races he thinks he's driven.
And I mean, the beginning, he wasn't really anywhere to be found. He had a couple of fights with, coming up against Piastri in the back, but I think he drove a fine race. I mean, he ended up in fourth.
I thought it was pretty good. He had a nice couple little battles here and there, which he won. And
I definitely wouldn't call it the worst race he's ever raced.
I don't think so at all.
I mean, there's probably some where he's taking some liberties.
I think taking Max
out
a couple of times,
exactly.
taking Nico Rosberg out a couple of times.
Maybe Silverstone
Maybe.
in 2021.
Like,
you know?
it was a pretty decent race, but
Yeah.
hey, he said, but he did say the car is fine. It was just his driving.
Which again, I don't understand. I don't know.
Sure, Lewis.
I don't know. Maybe it's a social media thing.
Yeah.
Just
didn't have a good weekend.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, the one thing that I mentioned it to you that I had a big gripe with today. Was it today? Yes, today. Yeah. One of my favorite people in the paddock is Ted Kravitz. I mean, you've been in Canada how many years now?
Yes.
I'm going to at least, for as long as I've been watching, so at least the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's more. This Canadian Grand Prix has been here since the 70s.
Yes.
If you don't know what poutine is, just don't talk about it. If you don't know, like, there were 2 instances, okay?
Yes.
Now I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here.
Okay. Kevin's corner.
Yeah.
Coach's corner.
So the pre-race, was it pre-race or was it yesterday during qualifying? Either way, I can't remember.
So worked
it was
up.
During, yeah, it was. So he's looking at the radar. He's down in the paddock. He's looking at it, and he's looking at the weather pattern and what's forecasted. And he says, "Well, I can see that there's a large mass coming from Cornwall. Can you believe that? Cornwall, Quebec. I mean, Quebec isn't the whole country. We do have English-speaking provinces on both
Majority.
sides. And Cornwall is very close to
Yeah.
Quebec. And so I wouldn't think that you would hear Cornwall and think Quebec.
Right.
You may not know it's in Ontario.
No. You can also look at a map.
But come on, man.
You could also look at
Cornwall, Quebec. That was one. That was the
one.
first one.
Okay.
That was the first one. The second one was the poutine thing.
Yes.
Poutine.
Poutine.
Excuse me, French Canada. Yeah, he goes through. There's all these food things throughout the paddock or near the whatever the team bases.
Yeah.
And there's a poutine station there, and he says poutine. If you never had it, it's basically chips and gravy. And, sometimes they'll have like different flavored gravy, like curry gravy and stuff. That's not really exactly what they do.
No,
but,
not here.
He says, and then they top it with some cheese, some hard cheese that's, basically mozzarella. No, it's not mozzarella.
No.
And you built it completely the wrong, way. You've been there for 10 years, at least 10 years. I'm going to guess 10 years. However long you've been at Sky Sports.
Yeah.
You haven't had a poutine?
I'm sure he's had one.
I was so disappointed.
It was a little disappointing.
I love Ted, and I was very disappointed.
I mean, they also just didn't even have one to give him.
No, they were all out. They were sold out. And he asked a random dude that was trying to seek shelter. He didn't even work there.
He was just talking to the guy, and the guy's like, "Yeah, it's mozzarella."
I get he was probably under pressure and was like, "Hey, Ted, it's raining. Go find us some content because nobody's out right now."
Yeah.
But
didn't work, and it royally.
He's got to come back to Canada, and we have to have a lesson here.
You guys are gonna go
Canadian lesson.
You and Ted are gonna go.
I will
on a food tour.
100%. Food tour
to Cornwall.
In Cornwall, because I'm sure they have some poutine there, and we'll take them to Cornwall, have a poutine.
Yes.
And we'll learn some things.
We'll learn some things. Well, yeah. I mean, I think
I'm all hot now. Just
hot and bothered.
Yeah.
It happens. But yeah,
that was basically
Canada.
The weekend. Yeah, it was. I mean, overall, a great weekend.
Yes.
There was a lot of excitement around it. Not a lot of drama, which was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I think early on we also knew it was going to be an exciting weekend. We saw the rain in the forecast, and it's just a track that, I mean, none of the tracks are great in rain. It's a track that we expect rain.
Yeah.
And it's a track groundhogs, which they made it. I was very concerned that they were not going to.
They did make it.
Someone was going to get hit this weekend, but the groundhogs are fine. So we're all good there.
But yeah, it's also a track, like, even when it's not wet, there's usually, especially that wall of jam, there's usually a place where, and we saw people coming out of there, and their back end just starts to go. And you kind of get that, you get real close.
Yeah.
And even with us, with qualifying, we had a couple of moments, but
I feel like in the race, we were like, ooh, ooh.
we did, yeah, we did
Just
quite a
about
bit.
to, like,
Especially when you see all that fishtailing
Yeah.
and that hydroplaning.
and then you see the replay, and like, oh, it's not bad.
Yeah, yeah.
But it
Depending on
just
what the angle
looks,
was.
yeah, it just looks a lot worse than it was. But
Yeah.
I think for Canada, it was a good race. It's always a good race. I mean, we heard the Dutch anthem.
We
again.
did. We did.
At one point, it was kind of like, maybe we'll hear something else, and then it was like, no.
No.
We're back.
Once we got to that second pit stop for Lando, and it's just like, no.
And
he's
there's
not
also, we know Max is just great with a safety car. Whether he's in first or second, he's just fantastic with a safety car.
He's got that restart down pat.
He knows how to restart, and he knows how to trip people up with his restart plan. So, but yeah, all in all, I think Canada, what would you rate it?
Would I rate it like, as in like a 1 to 10,
Yeah.
or like in the scheme of what we've had already?
Well, no, just like a 1 out of 10. The
1 out
race.
of 10. I would probably give it an 8.5.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Well done, Canadian Grand Prix.
Well, good. Well done on agreeing with me. Thank you.
Yes, well done, agreeing. All right.
All right, so
This just in.
Yeah, this just in. As we're going through news, and we're just looking up our news that we had for the week. Apparently, there was a radio that I missed. I
didn't even see it come up on the screen.
I don't know if it was, or if somebody was just watching the onboards and heard it. But we had at one point, Alcon's pit wall tells them, "We have to let Pierre through, please, to try and attack Ricardo." And Ocon's response was, "Yeah, forget it."
I mean, it's announced last week or this past week. He's not re-signing.
Well, they came to a mutual agreement. We don't know how that mutual agreement came about. We're in Canada. But if you're trying to endear yourself to other teams, if you put out after everybody said, he needs to be suspended for the race, Ocon is crap, whatever they put out, and he was very hurt.
He was
by
very hurt.
everybody's comments, and put a 3-page or whatever it was, that long ass message about how he's very hurt. He's always tried to, he's always had hard battles with his teammates, but he's always tried to keep everything fair and whatever, work with the team. When you say something like that, like everything you just said, everything anybody was maybe coming around with you on it, like that's out the window.
Yeah.
Like you've now shown you're a piece of shit.
Well, and like when I saw his post, I messaged you and I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad.
I mean, I didn't.
I know you didn't, but I was like, oh, I feel bad. Like the poor guy. And then you turn around and do this.
You can see his true colors.
Like you just.
It was absolutely terrible. And then he did eventually let Gasly through.
Yes.
Gasly felt it was a little too late to fight Ricardo, which it could have been.
Yeah.
We don't know at what point that all came.
No, because we didn't know about
We had
this
no idea.
at all. But
yeah, I hope he doesn't have a seat next year.
Yeah, that is. I mean, this is kind of a situation that we talked about, I think, last week with him and with Magnussen. It's kind of like, keep your head down, stop talking, just drive.
Do your thing, yeah.
Because you guys need a seat. There are at least 2 reserve drivers / F2 drivers that are dying for a seat and have been proving and
are likely to get in.
Right. And so
and possibly a third if that Mercedes seat is
open, right? And like the only way that you can at least keep in Formula One at this point for the guys that are currently on the grid is to just drive. Stay out of the drama.
Do you want that toxicity in your team? Do you really want to bring that in?
No team wants that.
Do you want somebody who's proven? I mean, okay, K-Mag's proven he can be a teammate.
Yes.
But he's not gonna help your bottom line as a team.
Right.
But Ocon has never proven that he can be a teammate.
No. It's bizarre, and like just seeing that now, it's like, Come on. We were rooting for you.
We were not.
We were.
We were not. You may have been.
I just started to feel
Don't lump
bad.
me into this shit.
I started to feel bad that, maybe he listened to our podcast and heard us.
I hope he has. I really hope he has. And I hope he moves on to a different series.
Well,
but that's what. Okay, so let's go through this here. So let's assume it's almost, and we'll get into the news, but it's almost assumed that Ollie Behrman's going to be at Haas.
Yes.
Right. We assumed that beforehand.
yes.
Let's assume that Kimi Antonelli drives for Mercedes,
Yes.
and let's assume that Jack Doohan is going to Alpine, which doesn't matter because Ocon's not going back.
Right.
So we have one seat open at stake. We have another seat open at Haas. We have another seat open at Williams. Yeah, at Williams. You've got Carlos on the market.
Mm-hmm.
You're likely to have Bottas on the market. You're going to have possibly Zhao on the market. Magnussen. And then that's probably of the current ones where you're going to have. Oh, those four. For 4 seats.
Yes.
Including Ocon. So that's 5 current drivers.
Ocon's out.
Of course.
Immediately.
Of course. I'm not picking any other driver.
No.
Or him, excuse me, over any one of those.
Any of the other 4. Yeah. And I mean, he hasn't, over the last last year and this year so far, hasn't also done enough to be causing all this drama.
Yeah. Oh,
Like-
we also glaze over the fact that Logan is also available. Sorry, there's 6. We just completely didn't even consider Logan
Yeah,
Sargent.
he's available.
He's available, and he's got a super license, so he is technically available. But we didn't even consider it.
No. No.
I still think we're right not to consider it.
I agree with you. Moving on.
Okay, so that's that. Yeah, like I don't. Now reading that, I'm just
I don't see the logic in.
not being a teammate
Yeah.
to getting butt hurt because now you're somebody's faster than you this
Yeah.
weekend. That's fine.
Yeah.
It happens.
We see there's a lot of teammates, driver pairings that aren't friends, but at least they pretend.
Yeah.
At least they. And also, like, okay, we're fighting for 1s and 2 points at the end there,
Which are potentially millions of dollars.
which is
But we've
so
seen
just do it.
We've seen those requests come in Mercedes.
Yeah.
In Mercedes, yeah. We've seen it come at McLaren with Lando and Piastri. The only place we haven't seen it is Red Bull because nobody's going to ask Max to move, and he's not going to move, and he's probably going to win the race. But we've seen it also in Ferrari. We've seen it through every team.
Yeah.
So what makes you in a shit box
Yeah.
so much better to deny that?
You guys are begging for points at this
Yeah.
point. Like, you need every point that you can get. And if you're in a situation where Gasly's got the faster car, he can put the fight to Ricciardo to get the extra 3 points that you're possibly going to get. Let him do it. I mean, like I said, Oscar, I guess the pit wall saw that maybe Oscar was a little bit faster and just wanted his opinion. If he thought he could catch Max, and he said, let Lando go. I'll do what I got to do back here. And that's what you do.
Yeah. As an
just-
employee.
Just be self-aware.
As an employee.
Just
Let's be honest.
be
You are an employee. They are
Yes.
giving you this seat.
Yeah. And I don't think, McLaren asked Oscar. This wasn't
It was
an
a discussion.
ask.
No, it was a discussion. No, this was, yeah.
This was
We've
a
seen the
move.
data move. We're asking you politely to move.
We're just being nice. We're
And
being
then he
kosher.
came back with a real dick response.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're Alpine and he's continuing with this kind of attitude, it almost doesn't look like it's a mutual agreement.
Oh, we know it's not
We
mutually
know
agreed.
it's not, but who's
I
to say
think-
that they don't turn around and be like, you know what?
I-
Forget 2025. You're done.
I 100% think that Bruno said, we're not going to suspend you for Canada, but we're not renewing your contract.
Yeah.
But we're also going to tell everybody that it's mutually agreed.
Mutual.
So this way you have an opportunity to go to another team.
Yeah.
And now he's screwing his opportunity.
Yeah, he screwed his opportunity.
Like the most
So,
self-destructive shit I've seen.
well,
Anyways,
That's
I
another
just
rant.
don't understand. I'm
There's
very
another
flustered.
rant.
There's a lot of things I don't understand this weekend. I'd say no, I'm not going to teach Ocon anything. He can rot, and it's fine.
Jesus.
I'm just going to close this door.
Oh.
Because now I can hear the thing, and she didn't close it back up. So, we're getting to this. Oh, the S is falling off.
We lose the S.
Just move it. Now I'm moving all over on top of each other.
Okay. All right. A little bit in what other news do we? News of the week.
I would have to check my notes.
News of the week. I think we somewhat rumors, but we have the rumors about Ollie that he has signed for Haas.
Yes,
nothing
there's an
confirmed.
agreement there.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's also the rumor that, and it's not really a rumor because Toto did comment on it, that they're putting their money in young drivers, and he called them out. He called out Kimi.
Yeah.
And he said that they kind of had that conversation with Sainz as well, Carlos Sainz. So it looks like Mercedes is going the route of Kimi Antonelli. Haas is going the route of Ollie Bierman. Nothing official, but...
Yeah. Well, and that kind of changes, not changes. It kind of opens the door. I mean, we always thought, like, maybe Kimi's not going to get that Mercedes seat. Maybe he'll start off in Williams, like most of their drivers do. Doesn't look like that.
It sounds like Toto wants him in that Mercedes seat.
And all the reports I've seen is that he's putting in times that are comparable to George and Lewis when their tests at Silverstone.
Yeah.
So it looks like that's going to happen for him.
Yeah.
So who gets that Williams seat? There are a lot of rumors picking up that Carlos might be going there. I don't know if that's...
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's a rumor. Who knows?
Lots of rumors. And I think it's just going to... Until we have some more official signings and extension, it's going to continue to be rumors for a while. And then we have Yuki signing. Yeah.
Yuki re-signed, for 2025. They didn't tell us term. Not that they called us personally, but we don't know term.
When they reached out to us, they didn't tell us exactly.
Yeah, we don't know term, but we do know that they are...
At least another year.
Yeah, at least another year. So Yuki will be in that seat. Yes. We don't know anything about Daniel yet. I would assume that he's going to stay in that seat now that Checo signed.
Yeah. Because Christian's going to keep him there.
Yeah, it's going to just keep him there and just pet his head on the pit wall there.
Yeah.
Like a Dr. Evil with his cat.
Or mini-me.
The other real news that I had here, the 2026 FIA regulations came out for F1.
Yes.
A lot of changes. A lot of size changes on the car. A lot of aerodynamic changes on the car. Mm-hmm. A lot of the team principals or teams in general are not happy.
Nope.
Even the drivers. Some of the drivers
are not
George
happy.
Was very, very vocal.
Yes.
Which we didn't comment on, but he is very vocal.
Yes.
And an over-explainer.
Yes.
But
I feel like George is the one that runs the driver meetings.
100%.
He is 100%. Like the driver spokesman.
That might be why Lewis is leaving. He's like, I can't do these.
Like, I
can't do these debriefings anymore.
Cannot deal with this. I mean, they are going to be 200 millimeters shorter.
Shorter, yes.
100 millimeters narrower. 30 kilograms lighter.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. And
this one's tough. Maximum floor width reduced by 150 millimeters.
Okay, I can't remember that.
He's failed.
I got 3 out of 4. That's not a fail.
That's a 75. That's a terrible. That's 75%.
That's my average in high school. So.
But yeah, they're going to reduce the downforce levels, and there's going to be no DRS. There's not going to be any DRS zones.
Right.
So basically, when you're on a straight now, you have this active arrow. Mm-hmm. Whatever it's Z mode or X mode. I know Ted was talking about it, but I was so excited about the poutine thing. I didn't really pay attention to it. And I've read it anyway. I just can't remember which one it was. But basically, when you're on a long straight, you're going to have 2 flaps open. So you're going to have the front wing open up. You're going to also have the back wing open up, which reports are that they could possibly reach 360 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
Where now I think max speed has been 332, something like that, kilometers an hour. But the concern is that they're going to be too fast in the straights and too slow in the corners.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that works for when you got a straight that's got like an elevation change. Are you just going to become an airplane? I'm assuming
like somewhere like Spa.
Yeah. Yeah.
With like that going
if you're
up that
open,
hill.
I don't know, because they're saying that you're not going to be able to have your ride heights won't have to be as low, and you won't have to require on that downforce as much.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of airflow. Not that I'm an aerodynamicist or anything,
Well.
or an engineer, but I mean, it's happened before in other tracks. That's why
Yeah.
they don't race in Nürburgring anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think we're getting smaller cars,
Yeah.
which
should help with Monaco.
will help with Monaco, will help with some of those narrow street tracks.
Yeah.
And I think it'll just be not more competitive because it's very competitive now, but it's going to make them faster.
It would make them faster, and it might have allowed Magnussen to get past Checo in Monaco.
Yes. We'll tell him to try the same thing again.
Do it again, recreate it.
We just want to see
That should be
something.
just part of the Sims.
Yeah, I just want to see something. So I mean, there's lots of regulation changes. We posted we posted all of them on our Instagram.
Yeah.
Which I can repost them or archive them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be. So far, it doesn't sound like the teams, the drivers, the principals are very impressed, or not that they're not impressed.
I think they might like
they have a lot of concerns.
Yeah, they have concerns. Yeah, I think they like the direction it's going.
Yes.
I just don't think that there are some safety concerns with their overall design of it.
Yes.
Right.
And I mean, Ted was actually talking about it today and said, they can't start development on their 2026 car until January 1st, 2025.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see it'll be interesting to actually see where Newey is, because we still don't know where he's going.
No, but they also have to start the design process of this.
Yeah.
I mean, because now they're also putting a bigger focus on the fact that it's going to be 50% carbon fuel versus energy and power cells.
Yeah.
Which makes a bigger battery.
Yeah.
Bigger power unit. Heavier that way. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Who gets it right and who doesn't?
I want to see what Newey is going to do to this
in Ferrari.
Dude, although it's another rumor, but it sounds like Mercedes is giving him
carte blanche, basically, in a blank check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toto says you fill this in.
Yeah. That's why we're going with a new driver, so we can pay him $1 million.
Yeah.
We can give the rest of the money to you.
Don't worry about it. We'll get Kimmy. He's small. Get him in the smaller car.
Yeah.
Have him flying.
A little fireball.
We'll do it. I mean, George is probably George is scared because he's so tall.
Yeah.
So he's like,
they might have to get rid of him. Yeah.
It's gonna be too big for him, or he's too big for the car. But yeah, I mean, FIA, we finally have the regulations. We'll see what they do with it.
Yeah. But that's it for news. That's all I have. I don't know if you had anything else.
I mean, there was the signings, but it wasn't a super busy news week, I don't think.
No.
So, fresh set
of the week. And if you're wondering why we have this sign here, you're going to see some things if you watch it on YouTube. Go check it out on YouTube.
Yes. Thank you, Cottage Springs.
Yeah.
And our t-shirts.
Yeah. It's not like we were, it's just coincidence.
We're the same shirt.
But yeah, fresh set of the week.
I'm going to go, it's second place, but I'm going to go with Lando.
Oh, you stole mine.
Really?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Lando getting second. I think he has turned it on, and he is like, knows what he's always known what he's doing, but I think he's just coming for that fight, and he's actually making Max do work. Last year, no one really took a fight to him, and Lando's doing it. So he got driver of the day as well. So
yeah. How many of those has he got?
He'd start getting points for that.
I want to give it to George for getting pole in qualifying. He put out a great lap. I'd rather give it to just a good Canadian Grand Prix weekend. I think there were some gripes I had, some gripes I talked about, some gripes I'm not allowed to talk about. But I think overall it was a great show. A lot of it had to do with the weather and some unexpected outcomes.
Yes.
But I just think the weekend in general, Canada in general, for as bad as we thought it might have been.
Yeah.
Not bad necessarily, but like just I was looking for. I thought there were going to be a lot worse outcomes with all the rain and like
Yes.
damages and red flags.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, and it was exciting. So I'll give it to that.
Yeah. I think it was a good weekend. If I had like another one, I would probably say we made poutine, which you guys are all going to see.
We did.
But our food was pretty good.
Our food was delicious.
So.
Yeah.
All right. So, dirty air.
Dirty air. I have so much to choose from.
I know you've got a lot.
I got so much to choose from.
I think mine, it's kind of an easy one. Lewis.
Yeah.
That
was on my list.
Yeah. Lewis kind of being like, again, I don't know what he felt in the car, what have you, but I thought it was a pretty decent, probably one of his better finishes so far this season. So.
Yeah, we watched that interview. We were just perplexed. We just didn't really understand.
And he just seemed so miserable.
Yeah.
Like, okay, whatever. So, Lewis.
That's yours? Okay. What do I choose? What do I choose? Can I list them all?
Yeah.
Can I actually list them
sure.
all? Okay. Number 1, Ted. I love you, Ted. But, I mean, I was so disappointed in that. But I wouldn't necessarily call that my dirty air.
Okay.
There's obviously also George on the radio. Was not very super impressed with that. I'm actually torn. I'm torn. My dirty air has to go to. I'm gonna give it a tie. It has to go to the Montreal Police, or the city of Montreal. For you do this every year.
Yeah.
It's not the first year you've had rain or hail.
No.
I don't know what you were thinking.
It rains at least once in the weekend every year.
Turning people away.
Yeah.
And what did you think? It was just like, whatever. We're not paying for those tickets. They have to deal with it. I don't get it.
It didn't make sense.
That and the tire calls on Ferrari. The tire calls on Ferrari really, really infuriated me. It made no sense. There was no confidence in any one of those calls.
No.
It was just, we're pulling shit out of our ass and we're hoping it's going to work, but we're going to change our mind midway through and hope that works. And no, you know what? We're going to go right back to what?
And like the plan, you didn't even let the plan play out.
No.
You just made this dumb call, put the guy on the wrong tire,
whatever tire you felt was right.
And then
changed it midway through.
You didn't even do the 2 laps that you said you wanted him to do and just keep it on track.
But then changed him back to the tires afterwards.
Which would result in him needing to change his tires again.
Yeah.
So
And it didn't seem like Leclerc was very happy because even after qualifying, his comments were, we're going to talk about, or I'm not going to make a comment here. So it just doesn't seem like there was a cohesive environment.
No.
All weekend for Ferrari.
Especially coming off such a amazing weekend for them in Monaco where they got everything right.
Yeah.
And to get everything wrong here is just crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, what happened with Carlos wasn't really the pit wall. I think it was just...
that was just dumb luck. And
yeah.
It was just, and Albon did his best to avoid him.
Yeah.
It was mostly just Leclerc that Carlos got screwed in qualifying too. During the race, it was just dumb
bad
luck.
Calls on Leclerc.
Yeah, 100%.
On his car.
But that's it. That's our Canadian Grand Prix.
Canadian GP.
Well, next week is another off week. And then there's 3 back to back races.
Yes.
So we go to Spain, then Austria, and then Silverstone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will be fun.
It will.
All really good. Which one of those is your favorite?
Probably Silverstone.
That's what I was gonna say. Of those 3.
Of those 3,
yeah.
Yes.
Of those 3, I would go
probably
Silverstone.
Yeah.
Iconic as well. So
yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's it for us this week.
Yeah.
So find us on Instagram,
X,
TikTok. Are we gonna go back and
forth
here?
Yeah, we are now. Apple Music,
Spotify,
Amazon Music,
YouTube.
Yeah, that's it. And let us know. Comment, like, share, subscribe. I said comment already, but comment. Let us know what your thoughts whatever happened to my voice there. Let us know what your thoughts on poutine are, or
Yeah.
Ted's thoughts on poutine.
Yes. And yeah, share it with your friends, your family,
Yep.
your enemies.
Did you say at Fresh Set Podcast?
At Fresh Set
'Cause I
Podcast
did.
on all platforms.
On all platforms.
We are not good at this.
Yeah, we're terrible. We need a teleprompter just for that.
Yes.
Just for the end.
Yeah. And we will see you guys next week.
Yeah, grab a fresh set.